Perfect. All right, so let's dig in. I was just saying happy Thursday. Typically, you don't do the live Q&As. Really happy that we were able to get this going today. A little post-Valentine's Day Q&A. I was out downtown with my wife last night, had a great Valentine's Day dinner. Probably will never go out on Valentine's Day again, but maybe the day before or the weekend before. Just too busy. But let's dig in here. Figured out the technical issue. We got the sound going. Everything working now, guys? All right, awesome. So dig in here. What causes shortness of breath? So typically, anytime we have inflammation, excess inflammation will definitely cause constriction. It'll cause an inability for the vasculature and the oxygen and the vasculature to communicate and get that oxygen into the blood supply. It's going to create a tightening of a lot of the muscles. So of course, excess inflammation is going to have a major impact. It's going to have a major impact on your body's ability to transfer oxygen. And of course, just the muscles being tight. A lot of people, they're in this kind of forward head posture. So their head's forward like this. So when they breathe, they're breathing through all of these tight anterior neck muscles. So that's one of the big issues, is just people are stressed and they're breathing wrong way versus a deep belly breathe, which is activating a lot more of the parasympathetics. And also, breathing through the nose has a major impact on getting the parasympathetics activated. Hope that helps. And then apple vinegar versus apple cider vinegar, I would say just stick with the Bragg's apple cider vinegar to be on the safe side. Not sure about that. Jeff says, I went off the GI Clear herbs for 6 days, and it seemed to help me a lot. Good. Now you got to just add them back in one at a time. Get super stable, add in a lot more of the healing nutrients, get the inflammation down, and then add things back in one at a time, very slow. Don't push it to the point where you start feeling worse. Get that dialed in. All right, good. What's your take on lauricidin? I think lauricidin is great. I use lauricidin for some bacterial issues. I also use it for viral infections. Again, the viral envelope kind of makes the virus a little bit more incognito to the immune system. So by using the lauricidin, it kind of helps break down that viral envelope, exposes it to the immune system, and the immune system can attack it better. So I have a product called Monolaurin Supreme or Synergy. It's got some vitamin C in it as well. And we'll use that for Epstein-Barr stuff. We'll use it for some difficult bacterial issues as well. That's super helpful. So Monolaurin or lauricidin are some good products. Excellent. Let's keep on rolling here, guys. What's the difference between soil-based probiotics like VSL3? Or what's the difference between soil-based probiotics and VSL3? So VSL3 typically are going to be like more Lactobacillus bifidobacter strains. VSL3 is one of the more well-studied probiotics. And they want to know that question in conditions like SIBO or candidiasis. So Lactobacillus bifidobacter, people that are more SIBO, they have this bacterial overgrowth, they may be very probiotic sensitive. The lactobacillus or the bifidobacter kind of creates this histamine response, and they don't respond to it well. They have inflammation. They may get bloaty or gassy. I find clinically that these people may do better with either a delactate-free probiotic or a spore or soil-based probiotic like a Primal Defense or it's another one out there. The Megaspore Biotics, one of the other ones that I use. The Prescript Assist is another one. Tend to be a little bit less sensitive to these. They're more spore or soil-based versus kind of like your Bifidobacter or Lactobacillus strains. Again, the ProBioFlora that I carry is actually dairy-free. So some people could be reacting to that because of the dairy culture that it's in. So those are the couple of the reasons why some would use one over the other and why some people actually have a reaction with it. All right, low body temp in the morning, 96.8, cool hands and feet, but mostly normal in the evening. Adrenal issues or thyroid issues. If it's chronically low, it definitely sounds like thyroid. If it's up and down, then it could be a combination of adrenal and thyroid, but it sounds like it's more thyroid on that one. Is a hair mineral analysis good for finding mineral deficiencies or heavy metal toxicity? I'm not a huge fan on the hair mineral analysis just because it's a downstream marker, meaning if you have any type of digestive issues that affects your body's ability to break down minerals and absorb minerals, and obviously if you're going to have issue with minerals, what's your odds that you're going to have problems breaking down proteins and fats too, right? Obviously pretty good. So I look at the hair mineral testing more as a downstream marker because if there's underlying gut issues, I'm more concerned at the underlying gut infections that are creating impediments. So of course it could be helpful to know what minerals to use. There are other tests too, like a SpectraCell or a Nutri-Eval or even some organic acid testing can be really helpful as well. I would just make sure make sure the gut stuff isn't missed, because I see that as a higher up issue that could be affecting those minerals from getting in anyway. What's the perfect blood test for an annual checkup? I would recommend the comprehensive bioscreen on my website. That one's going to cover your CBC, your comprehensive metabolic profile. It's going to cover your CBC, comprehensive metabolic profile. It's going to cover a full thyroid panel, vitamin D, inflammatory markers like CRP and fibrinogen. Yep, that would be the test that I would do. A urinalysis too. That's a great test. That'll give you a window into everything. Anthony writes, my nephew's 18 months and constantly getting ear infections. What do you recommend for a natural treatment? Okay, great question. So number one, cut the stuff out of his diet. Cut any refined sugar, cut the dairy, cut any gluten, and cut that out 100%. Number two, you could use some citricidal drops and put those drops in his ear. That could also be helpful. Or some citricidal has like some citrus extract. You could even do a little bit of hydrogen peroxide as well. Get the diet dialed in and get him on some probiotics designed for infants. So I would do like the Therabiotic infant formula to get him specific Infantis strains in his gut. But you really got to get the diet 100% dialed in. And if he's still breastfeeding at all, then you got to get the mom's diet 100% dialed in too. Hope that helps. Is it possible to get an allergic reaction from spraying magnesium on my skin? I notice I get kind of fatigued after doing it. Well, magnesium can be relaxing. So I'd like to just differentiate when you say fatigued, are you also feeling very relaxed? I mean, if that's the case, you know, you have your magnesium chloride spray, or you can do magnesium sulfate via like an Epsom salt bath or magnesium threonate lotion. Do those all have the same effect? It may not be an allergenic reaction. It may just be kind of the benefits, the relaxation benefits of magnesium. So if that's the case, just do it more at night, not during the day. Let's see here. GI Restore, your GI Restore with the ProBioFlora and SacroFlora working great for my gut. Awesome. Confident I can try eggs again without issue soon in 1 month. That's great. Yeah. So again, you can typically add foods in. Number one, you pull foods out in the beginning that may be an issue. So Riley's talking about eggs. You may pull some of those foods out, add foods back in one at a time. You may be able to tolerate it. If you get hydrochloric acid and enzymes up, you may not. We may do some killing. After the killing, you can try adding it back in because the gut microbial balance has shifted. If there's still an issue, then we do it after the probiotics, after we've kind of repopulated or push some of that beneficial flora back in. You may be able to notice that you can tolerate it then. Let me jump over to Facebook here. Have you helped people suffering with bipolar? Yes, I have. I mean, again, you have to get to the root cause of the bipolar, right? Some people that are just purely bipolar, you know that it's just a pure bipolar. If you give them a little bit of lithium and they just snap back to reality, then you know that it's probably more of a lithium-based bipolar. And they're going to recommend like a lithium carbonate. I see if you can get the same benefits with a lithium orotate because it's just more natural. But again, that's how you know if it's a true bipolar. If not, we do all the functional medicine workup and get all the underlying gut stuff, inflammation stuff, blood sugar stuff, nutrient deficiency stuff, and see how the patient starts to get better. So all those things would be used. Again, symptoms can manifest based on genetic predisposition. So someone over here that has a thyroid issue may have the exact things wrong as someone with bipolar. The reason why someone expresses one way or the other is going to be because of genetic predisposition. Hope that helps there. Let's see here. Elmo writes in, hey, Dr. J, what's the best CoQ10 or astaxanthin for X-statin abusers? So, I mean, there's ubiquinol, which is a reduced form of CoQ10. There's some research on that, not a lot. I use the ubiquinone, and typically if we're going to be a statin user or an X-statin, so I imagine that they're off statins, I would probably do 300 to 500 milligrams per day. I'd also want to quantify that via via an organic acid test, because we can look at a lot of these mitochondrial markers from there. See, Riley writes in, any other adaptogens you use besides rhodiola, ashwagandha, luthero for stress? You can also throw in some holy basil. Holy basil is really good, better at night or better when you're just trying to down-regulate stress. That can be really helpful too. What causes obsessive compulsive disorders? Well, I mean, when you have OCD issues, the same issues that could drive OCD could also drive depression, could also drive anxiety as well. Inflammation in the brain is going to increase your chance of these type of conditions manifesting. Food allergens and leaky gut are going to create inflammation in the gut, which will then make their way up to the brain. And of course, inability to digest minerals and amino acids that have important effects on relaxation, on GABA, on serotonin, on dopamine, those can all have an effect on OCD expressing. So OCD isn't like a unique thing. It's going to be a manifestation of brain and gut inflammation and typically nutritional deficiencies that come along with that. Hope that makes sense there. What causes obsessive compulsive disorders? I already addressed that one. MK writes in, is the GI Clear 3 usually 2 caps twice daily, or is it measured in teaspoons? Yeah, so the GI Clear 3, that's going to be the silver, the nano silver. So I would do 2 tablespoons of that twice a day. So you can use the cap on that. Just do 2 shot caps twice a day. If you wanted to do it 3 times a day, I'm also okay with that as well. And if you want to gargle it, swish it around, then swallow it, that's great too, because if there's any candida or bacterial stuff in your mouth, that will also help. Hope that helps there, MK. And then could you add GI Clear 3 to your morning coffee? You could, but I mean, I would just down it. It's like water, right? So if you add water to your coffee, it's just going to dilute it. So I would just take it straight. Whenever I eat quinoa, I poop it out in the whole form. Can this be a problem? Potentially. Anytime you're chewing up food and you're still noticing an issue with it ending up in your stool, it could be a food allergen issue. So I would take that as a potential food allergen problem. Jeff writes in, my dad got tested for H. pylori, no results, but his CBC came back with anemia. Plus, he had an attack that kept him down a solid day. His stomach was burning. Can this be a deep H. pylori infection? Definitely can be, probably is. Again, if he has an anemia, we're talking a B12 or an iron-based anemia or both? I want to know what the difference, which one is it? And of course, it sounds like there's some gut issues. I would run that GI map test to confirm it 100%. Amy writes in, I noticed my gums getting black and receding after I got diagnosed with CFS. I imagine that's chronic fatigue syndrome. Also, my urine had a strong smell of ammonia. What could be the cause? Well, again, CFS is going to have a lot of autoimmune implications. A lot of times it's connected with fibromyalgia, but I would look at inflammation in the diet, of course, getting you on an autoimmune template to start, working on the gut. There could probably multiple infections, working on potentially the adrenals, working on the thyroid, working on the mitochondria. Those issues all tend to be connected, and they really need to be looked at and addressed. Let's see here. Have you gotten the feel for the new Para 1 product yet? How's it been working for your patients? Yeah, I mean, I have 5 patients last week that actually noticed worms coming out with that product. So I find it's very good for some of the bigger worms. So profound. I mean, you can Google it. There's a lot of people that have shared pictures online of these things too. So the Mimosa pudica, which is the active compound in that product, I found like it's doing really well, especially for the big worms. Really like it. Any ideas for gray hair or hair loss? Yeah, fix the gut, extra collagen peptides, extra selenium for the gray hair. And then if you want to do some good quality organic green juicing, I've seen Gary Null talk about that helping to improve hair and hair color as well. Would you consider CBD an adaptogen? That's a great question. I think it could definitely be considered an adaptogen for its like relaxation kind of effects, for sure. More of a one-way adaptogen. I'm not seeing it help people on the upside, but I'm really seeing it help people on the downside to kind of unwind and relax. Any tips on getting rid of plantar warts? I mean, I would do monolaurin and reishi and maybe some cat's claw, because typically they're going to be viral infections. That tends to be really helpful. That's a good one. Also, the J Bioserum with specific stem cells, I've seen it knock out warts as well, topically. Any cure for autoimmune smooth muscle? Autoimmune diet to start, get on the gut, get the gut all fixed and worked up. My mom's 65. She's always tired. What could be it? What blood tests would you require? So when I look at fatigue, we look at adrenal, back down into that first gear to relax, right? That's kind of what's happening with your adrenals. They're the actual gearbox where you can shift. Think of the thyroid as your resting engine tone when you're in neutral, right? That 700 or so RPMs, that's your thyroid. That's the resting energy potential. And think of the lubricant and the gas as the mitochondrial nutrients that run the system. So you want to look at all three of those, the ability to shift, the ability to have resting engine potential, and then the underlying fluid and gas in the tank. Hope that makes sense there. What kind of grains create the least amount of inflammation? So yeah, white rice would be probably the least on top of that, and maybe even a sourdough bread and a quinoa. Quinoa is kind of like a pseudo grain. It's kind of like in between a grain and a seed. Vladimir writes in, Tedderwort is good for plantar warts, no hand. That's great. Bernardo writes in, what's your thoughts on high bacteroides and firmicutes on the GI map? So typically, like firmicutes is like going to be the group that's going to help with extracting calories. So typically firmicutes supposedly can help you gain weight. Bacteroides is kind of the better group. So you kind of want this balance of bacteroides to firmicutes. It tends to be more skewed in the firmicutes side from what I understand, but I don't worry about that kind of bacteria. I'm worried about more of the infections that may throw it off. And then once we clear out the infections and we support the probiotics, and if we're giving a little bit of starch in there to help feed some of that bacteria afterwards, it tends to be okay. So I'd work on the Prevotella and the dysbiotic bacteria, get that under control, get the probiotics going first. How'd you discover your ginger tea? I've been making it nightly, and every ingredient is important, both lime and honey. It's amazing. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. That's kind of a foundation from the GAPS diet. So I've taken that from the GAPS diet. I've seen other physicians use it as well. So it's very helpful. The honey, I find, really makes the ginger tea palatable because the ginger is very spicy. The honey kind of curves the spice on it, makes it a little more palatable, and the lime really helps too. So glad you enjoyed that, Matt. Spivey writes in, any tips for improving gut health? Yeah, I mean, 6 R's, right? Removing the bad foods, replacing enzymes, acids, repairing the hormones, adrenals, gut lining, remove the infections, repopulate probiotics, retest. That's it. I've done full podcasts and videos on it, so I'd recommend you going back to justinhealth.com and use the search button there. Let's see here. Is a low FODMAP diet the only good for SIBO? Is it useful for other infections and yeast overgrowth? Well, I mean, you know, with yeast overgrowth and other infections, just keeping a lot of the refined carbohydrate down is typically okay. Kind of a lower carb paleo template is usually enough. But if the bloating and the gas are still present, even with that kind of template, cutting out the fermentable carbohydrates can really help improve that. And again, how you know is if cruciferous foods, onions, garlic, fermented foods really still cause a lot of bloat and gas, I think you'd really benefit by trying a low FODMAP template. Awesome. Hope that helps everyone here. Any questions, let me know. I'm going to be back here, I think, later on today around 4:30-ish CST. As soon as I get confirmation, I'll put a link up on YouTube saying I'm back. But if you guys stick around later on today, I will be back with a live podcast, and we'll go in a lot deeper. Hold on. One last question. What's the functional approach to prostatitis? Okay. So get the diet right, get the inflammation right, get the insulin under control. Sometimes prostatitis can be caused by some elevation in certain metals like cadmium, but get all the diet stuff under control, get the hormone stuff under control too. Sam writes in, I wake up one morning with a fully coated white tongue. Despite using conventional methods, it only gets worse. I have antibiotics that get the coat worse. So number one, I'd be getting your gut looked at. Get the candida out of your gut. You can do the GI Clear 3, gargle with that. That'll help kill it. Some 3% hydrogen peroxide. All that's great too. 8 eggs per day is totally fine. How's the baby? Aiden's doing great. He had a little bit of solids for the first time. He sucked on a green apple for a little bit yesterday. So really rewarding. Great to see him doing so well and so healthy. And he said 0 health issues. He's doing phenomenal, partly just because his mother is eating amazing, really clean organic food, no allergens, and all he's doing really is breast milk outside of his first little solid where he just kind of sucked on the apple yesterday, which is great. Thanks for asking. With a mouthful of silver fillings, not being able to afford to remove them, how can I protect myself? Yeah, I mean, I would be just doing a little bit of chlorella. If you look at my heavy metal clear product, there's some chlorella and pectins in there, which can at least bind up some of that stuff. Matt White writes in, I've had some great success with the probiotics for mood as well as starts like pumpkin. That's great. They seem to work better than even 5-HTP. Have you seen this before? It's probably just feeding your gut bacteria, and your gut bacteria is producing more internal serotonin. Again, that serotonin may not cross the blood-brain barrier. You're probably just absorbing better amino acids from your food as well. So it's probably just your gut becoming healthier. Jeff writes in iron deficiency. He used to have problems with hemochromatosis and Hep C, and the docs are saying no healing cirrhosis from where he took the meds to get rid of Hep C. So, I mean, he's got to get his gut fixed. He's got to get on the GI Restore. He's got to get on an autoimmune template. He's got to, get some really good healing amino acids in there. He's got to look deeper at what's going on for the gut. And again, if he has low iron and he's still like not a vegetarian or not a vegan, then he may have some ulcerations. He may be losing blood. So we got to really get that ruled out to make sure he's not losing blood there. But we got to get all those things going on the functional medicine side. Best wide spectrum herb for supplement to cleanse your system. I would say GI Clear 4 is great for that. I got jittery at the end of day 4. My water fast, was that normal? Yeah, that is normal. You're pumping out a whole It's great, though, if you have a whole bunch of food allergens because you kind of clean them out of your gut. Mel writes in, I've been off prednisone for 5 days for a sinus infection, but now my sinuses are all swollen up and painful again. Could I be experiencing withdrawal? Yes, you definitely could be. I would look at doing like a bulletproof sinus rinse or a nasaline to help clean that out, and maybe get on some extra adrenal glandular and or prednisolone to help support the inflammation a little bit more on the natural side. See, it's me, right, Dr. J? How do we get rid fast from teeth gum? Not sure. Write that one again so it makes more sense to me. Sam writes in, could frequent urination be caused by inflammation? Yes, definitely